Welcome to Miller's Mods, ladies and gentlemen. Today's episode of Blaster Chat is the Battle of Bullpups. This is a comparison between the X-Shot Pro, the Talon Claw Bullpup, and the Lynx. So let's begin, shall we? We'll start off with the X-Shot Pro, since everybody seems to love that. This is the X-Shot Pro here. This blaster was put out in 2023, the summer of 2023. It cost like $30 when it came out. People went gaga over it, but it did have a couple weak spots in it. One being the plunger tube was very thin. And it was pretty much broken on straight out of the box use. But that's been fixed, and as you notice, that's a metal tube in there now. There's also parts in this blaster now from Saber Blasters out of Singapore. I don't know how well you can see that, but that's part of the pusher for it. So, and I've seen prototype renderings for new parts for this blaster as well to come out. So be sure to look for those in the future. I know I will for this blaster. You know, this blaster here, when it came out there, it shot about 130 or so. But with just a turn of a spring, if you will, you know, if you put in like 8 inches of K25, the blaster will shoot like 250, no problem. Still on a stock barrel. This is an aftermarket barrel setup for it. That's a collet system from AK Blaster Mods. That's a worker barrel from AK Blaster Mods and a scar from Armod 74. The grip on this blaster when it came in was kind of trash, in my opinion. That's a Churro grip from Midnight Blasters, the same guy that sent me my Lynx. You know, this is probably one of the best grips for a bullpup style blaster next to the triangle grip from Captain Slug. But to each their own, you know, they're very similar grips. I mean, if you can tell one from the other. But as I said, though, with a simple change of the spring load, you were able to get 250, you know, and that was on a stock barrel, which is pretty nice. I mean, and it's a decent blaster, but some of the cons are, the major con is the shell. The shell's thin. And when I say the shell is thin, it's pretty thin. I mean, I haven't heard of shells cracking or breaking yet, but I expect it to happen. The one good thing about metal parts is that when the shell wears out, you can just transplant your guts from one blaster to another. It happens all the time. Look at Cortea and his Nerf long shot blaster. He's probably had to reshell that thing about 8 or 9 times by now, because it shoots with such force and it just destroys the shell over time. But let's move on to the next blaster here. This is the Talon Claw Bullpup made by Captain Slug. This one was actually built by Rick Vega, one of the guys in the community. I actually bought this blaster as a commission from him. Now, this blaster here shoots like 270. I'm not kidding you. The performance I got out of this blaster right out of the box, if there is such a thing, it was 270 FPS, which is really nice. You know, it's definitely put in nice colors and all that. But you know, aside from the cosmetic looks, it's still a bullpup. But there's one main difference. If you notice, look at where the mag is compared to the back of the blaster. Look at the mag orientation compared to this one. See the difference? And if I could get, and then here, look at the mag from towards the back of the blaster. You've got about 6 inches before you hit the actual butt of the blaster. And then compare that to the Lynx, which is like right up against it, but yet the Lynx is smaller. You know, I mean, the Talon Claw Bullpup's probably the longest of the three. If I had to guess, actually, it is the longest of the three if you include the scar on it too. You know, so, but it's not long by much. But the Talon Claw Bullpup is actually a really great blaster. I mean, there are metal parts for it. That does not have any metal parts in it at the moment. I do plan on getting some. You know, but it's a great blaster. It's definitely great for CQB, 260, 270. You know, that's at like most clubs' absolute high cap. You know, but here in my group, we play above 300. So that would be a CQB blaster to me. It's kind of weird, isn't it? But it is what it is. I mean, and it's a gorgeous blaster. I mean, it truly is. I haven't really had any jams or malfunctions with this blaster. I have had a few jams and malfunctions with the XLS, but that was before I changed out to Saber parts. And when you install his parts, all you have to do is just make sure you Loctite them in. That way it'll definitely help you out. But yeah, this is a far superior build than the XLS. But it's also comparing apples to oranges too, because basically the the Talon Claw Bullpup's a $200 blaster all day long. The X Shot one, even with all the upgrades on it, is maybe 60, $70 right now. And that's if you count all the upgrade parts, because the blaster's $30, and then by the time you change out the barrel, the spring, that's another $10 or so, $15, depending on what kind of barrel you use. If you use a Curie barrel, of course, it's going to be a little bit more, whatever. So it definitely brings the total cost of the X Shot Pro up to about $60. Now up here we have a lynx. Okay, and yes, I figured I would show you a little bit more about this lynx when I was talking about the print lines, and now I said that there wasn't none. Look at that. But that's a bamboo printer, and that's somebody who has their stuff dialed in. You know what I mean? But this lynx here, that does about 230 or so, and it's a really cool blaster. It's got anodized aluminum bars on it. It's got a metal trigger, Rubberman catch, the whole 9 yards. It's got a complete metal kit. It's awesome. It truly is. And then with a nice Gavin Fuzzy B card, it just kind of makes it that much better. And I won't take anything away from a lynx, but the one thing I have trouble with is the orientation of the magazine. Like, that's too far to the back for me. The same with the XLS. The XLS is a little bit further away. It's a little bit better, especially since you can extend the stock on the XLS. But I prefer my mag to be as far away from my shoulder as possible. It just seems more comfortable and easy for me. But then again, that comes down to personal preference. There may be guys that pick up the Talon Claw Bullpup and say it's trash compared to a lynx. And to each their own. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. This is just my own personal opinions on that, and that's just it. Personal opinions go a long way, Everybody's very opinionated in the community. I've learned that by now. Some people love the lynx, some people don't like it. Some people like the Talon Claw Bullpup, some people don't like it. Some people would much rather have this blaster because it's dirt cheap. Just saying. But it all comes down to people's personal opinion. But if I had to choose a blaster, and keep in mind that lynx right there, that's like a $350 to $400 lynx. The TC Bullpup's 200, and the X Shot Long Shot is $60, with all the metal parts in it. I would probably still choose the TC Bullpup just because of where that magazine is orientated at, because that looks like that's about, I had to guess, about 6 inches away from your shoulder, which is far easier to reload than something that's that close. The same thing with this one, but then again, it all comes down to personal preference. So if I had to pick a winner, or at least my personal preference, it would be the Talon Claw Bullpup, and then maybe the X Shot Long Shot. And not to take anything away from the lynx, I absolutely love my lynx, but that magwell is just too far back against your shoulder. It should, if that magwell is like another 3 inches back away from the butt stock of the blaster, it would be so much better. But it is what it is, and I didn't design the blaster. And Jason really did a great job of making it. He really did. I give him my hats off. The same thing to Rick Vega, and Conrad, who designed the parts for these blasters. But, it's all comes down to personal choice and personal preference. But in any event, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching my Battle of the Bullpup, the comparison between the lynx, the Talon Claw Bullpup, and the X Shot Long Shot Pro. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this is Miller's Mods signing off.